business group that love working with entrepreneurs and giving back. And obviously, telling it like it is, this is a live show. If you have questions, put them up there. If you are watching this after the fact, put the questions in there. We will answer them. I just want to talk about something briefly scrolling across the bottom. It's our second of our series of 7 mental wellness course for entrepreneurs called Thriving Minds. We're going to be focused on challenging the imposter syndrome. We had 57 entrepreneurs sign up for number 1. Come on out. You'll get one-on-one time with peer guidance. The Collectively Tangled girls are awesome. And, it's a place to be. And again, it's a journey you don't have to take alone. And I'm excited. Again, it's November 16th. The link will be up right away. But one thing I'm excited about and reminiscing is Boyd and I go way back into the U of S days, even though I'm a dropout. But even one of our mutual friends who's a big leader in the industry here, Brigette from the Rainforest, I imagine you probably maybe rented some movies at Boomers with her in the Speedy Creek.
God, I can't even believe you remember Boomers. I barely do that. It's amazing.
Well, that's how I started my career. I started off as a salesman in the video industry, so selling to all the video stars in Saskatchewan. So even though I try and make it sound sexier that I was in the movie industry, I was just a VHS rep, kind of like the Peter King.
I just remember our university days where, I'd be coming home from studying and going back to study even further, and I'd see it all the hot spots and, wave as I went by, but you were always having fun. And I was trying to be the good student.
Yeah, well, it's good for you. It paid off, right?
Which is far from the truth.
Yes. Oh my God, isn't that the truth? We all have our own fun. Everybody has their own different paths. I don't care where you are on anything, right? It's just different. You know what? And we're gonna get talking about that. I mean, one of the things, we obviously lost touch with each other, and for whatever reasons, we're guys, and in the early 90s, there was no social media. You either had to actually give a physical phone call or write a letter. And most of the time that didn't happen. But, when we ran into each other at Uniting the Prairies, it was great. We were able to catch up, have some good chats. And then, then you started telling me about CultivateCI. So why don't you share your founding story with us?
Yeah, it's a bit of a different one and not your typical sort of startup story, but the premise really originated, looking at the carbon credit and offset market. And I know it's very new to the industry. It's kind of that hot buzzword at the moment, but having been able to see a lot of what was happening in that world, there was nothing to validate it. There was, it felt like it was a bit of the wild, wild west. And people were generating credits and financial transactions based off of practices that may or may not have happened. And I just kept thinking to myself, like, something has to, there has to be some type of verification system to this. And there was no standard. Even today, like there's, we're working with a number of governments at, state levels in the US and federally in Canada. And folks are struggling to come up with a set standard of, hey, what constitutes as a measurement system. And so really what we wanted to do is, understanding that there's a plethora of data that exists in the agricultural market. And how do we use this to help farmers achieve, the greatest return on investment? And how do we create a market? Because, I think growers and producers were promised the world when these carbon credits and carbon offsets came out. And when it came down to it, at the end of the day, they were either, non-existent or pennies per acre, which really didn't add up to anything. And so what we wanted to do was really, combine forces with the industry and look at ways where how can we put the measurement into the supply chain, and how do we work with food companies on the back end to say, okay, we can actually source low carbon durum and into the Italian pasta market and be able to trace it all the way back to the field that it was grown in and see the practices that happened all along the way. So that's really where everything originated was how do we create confidence in the system, and how do we have a playing field that rewards everybody for participating, where the producer is ultimately the one rewarded first. The line companies sourcing the grain offer that premium, and they're selling it into the CPG market. And then the companies at the end of the day are selling that into their Sobeys and Walmarts and, whatever grocery store they have. And those grocery stores can sell it with confidence, knowing that, yeah, this is actually low carbon, rather than a lot of this greenwashing that we've come to see and know. and create a measurable standard. And I guess that's the biggest part, is having a measurable standard of, where do we start? What is our carbon footprint today? So that's kind of where Cultivate originated, and it's been a bit of a rocket ship ride for the last year.
Well, I mean, and that is interesting, right? And I always think back when I know your story. I think back to Hubert and Trustbix and how they did that kind of in the animal industry, right? Kind of a gate to plate type thing. Do you think your success was a lot of that because you were at the grassroots level talking to the farmers and then kind of making sure everybody got their piece of the action, so to say, all the way up?
Yeah, I think a lot of it was you really just understanding the need, and knowing that there was a problem, there was something missing.
Yeah.
And the biggest missing piece was that validation. So how do you measure, how do you report, and how do you validate it? And you saw a lot of these carbon credit groups, and I think Vera right now is up to something like 2 billion in fraudulent credits. Out in the yeah, that's a lot. And so it was really, all you had to validate it was a signed affidavit, or even less than that. And so the biggest piece was, how do we validate that with data, and how do we back it up to put the utmost confidence in it? And so right now with CultivateCI, we're the only group who's actually using real-time on-farm data, and we want to make it as less onerous on the producer as possible. And so that's why we created it via APIs into almost every, anyone who has a smart connection into that farm, we can access that data. And therefore the grower doesn't have to put, X amount of hours in after the fact of, uploading receipts and taking pictures and validating it, because nobody wants another grower platform. Nobody wants another data input center. They just want things to be smooth and easy. And so that's what we've tried to do. And it's worked.
I think that's interesting. I mean, obviously, being involved in the Canadian Blockchain Consortium, I see a lot of we'll call them carbon credit things come through. The voluntary system. I don't want to get into what I think of it. We could probably have a whole conversation on that, and obviously the benefits sometimes of using blockchain for that. But I do agree with you on the fraudulent things along those lines. One thing I just want to touch base before we kind of move on and talk about how you do it is I want to touch base on the farmers. I mean, I know the farmers are, people always think, oh, they're just farmers, but they are some of the most tech savvy. It's probably one of the industry that has the most tech into it. And of course, one of the reasons why it's Startup TNT, we started an Ag Tech Summit last year. Our next one will be in January here. So why don't you talk about maybe some of the way the farmers have adapted to this as well?
Well, that's a great point, Jada. And I think people fail to realize, Tesla existed on the farm well before Tesla existed on the road, right? Like, farmers had self-driving tractors for years. Like, everyone always thinks, oh, well, they're boots and overalls and, not the smartest folks. And I've yet to meet a producer who, I can outsmart on. Well, I've yet to meet most people that I can outsmart on anything. But in all honesty, they are some of the leaders when it comes to tech and adopting it into their farm practices, and it's brilliant, and it's great to see. And so, the other thing I think that happens is they always get there. It's an industry that's easily picked on, and that was also a part of what drove me with Cultivate was, everyone. It was easy to say, oh, well, farmers are the bad producers of carbon. They emit the most. They do this, and they really didn't have a way to stand up for themselves with that. And I really hated this way of people saying, like, oh, well, they're the emitters, they're the problem. And they're not. When you actually look at it from a data point of view, there's a lot of, aha moments that you'll see that, some of the farm practices are very, very smart when it comes to reducing carbon, low carbon, carbon sequestration. And so, it'll be surprising for folks to see over the next couple of years as we work through this with a lot of our partners and a lot of the major, global tech firms. There's room for improvement always, but I have yet to meet a producer who is a poor steward of the land on purpose. Like, farmers, growers are the most proud people of their land. So it always bothered me too when folks said, oh, well, they're just out there ruining the land. I've yet to meet anyone who goes out there as a producer and is like they are the proudest of their land more than anyone I've ever met. And so I think having, helping them to have the decision making capabilities at their fingertips, it was a reason. And then to actually have groups stop telling them how to farm. They know better than anyone how to use the land, how to work their land. And so giving them the resources just to make better, more informed decisions was part of our goal from the onset. And I think that's one of the reasons too, is we didn't go out there and say, okay, you have to change these practices, you have to do these things, and it has to happen for the next 10 years. And if you step outside those practices in the next 10 years, you pay back all of what you have received to date of the credits and offsets. And again, credits and offsets aren't the enemy here. It's been administered in a poor way. But yeah, I think just equipping the industry with better knowledge and better data. And this goes for all industries. We started in agriculture because we love agriculture, and that's where our careers are. But we'll be expanding into construction and oil and gas and TV and film. And so there's a lot of on or upwards and outward, I guess, opportunities here with this carbon measurement, and it's not just on the agricultural level.
No, and I mean, we'll probably talk about that in what's next here down the road. But I mean, I agree with you about the farmer. Again, I'm talking with Boyd here, CultivateCI.com. Click on their website in the comment section. My cousin bought my grandpa's farm back in Sask, right? And he's always say, hey, what's out there? What's going on? When I told him we're running an ag tech summit, he's like, oh, tell me some of send me all the websites for them so I can go start checking them out, right? Like I said, they're the leaders. I think in a lot of that, the farmers want to know. They want to know how the water drains off, where there are things, where they can plant more, where they don't have to. Lots of so many things, and again, they just kind of get forgotten about, exactly how you say, which is sad. But in the end, it's an industry that we need. It's one of our major industries here in Western Canada, and it's something that, even though I grew up in rural Saskatchewan, not a farmer, but I was at the farm with my grandpa. Everyone's always proud of what we do and the farm and the food that we create. So why don't we explain a little bit about your process here and how you work with the farmers and everybody before we get into the big announcement?
Yeah, so we primarily work via the channel. So we've always respected the channel's relationship with the grower, and we're there to support that. So working with the crop retailers, the co-ops, the line companies, that's our go-to market aspect, because they own the best relationship, and they want to be the ones who are boots on the ground with the grower. And I think so many companies try and compete with that, or they try and add on or be a sidekick to it, and it just doesn't work. And so what we want to do is we want to educate the companies that we're working with in terms of what we add to their overall value proposition to that grower. We're not a standalone product. It shouldn't be marketed as that, and it's not. But it is an additional one, and so we can help work. We work with the crop chem companies, we work with the fertilizer groups, we work with the line companies, and now we're getting into the food CPG companies as well. And so, our goal is to try and create an overall, supply chain or value chain that we're helping everyone along the way. And so we're not here to be a standout. I always say, think of it as a picture. I want to be the signature at the bottom. Like if we're working great with a group, I could care less if our name gets mentioned. It's all about how do we help and how do we support and how do we, really work at changing this climate picture and for the better, and providing the measurable data that is backed up. And so that's the biggest piece of, what I'm most proud about with Cultivate is we're there to support, and we're not there to be the shining star, like I think a lot of other folks are, and want to, want the publicity and want the press. And again, I don't mind it. We were featured in Forbes. Featured in Forbes a couple of weeks ago. That felt good. I won't lie.
I in the humbleness, I think that's probably the Prairie Way type thing, right? I think humble, do your job, build a good company, take a year to grow it, show there's a market out there, and then of course I don't want to steal your thunder here, but you're going to get a hell of a lot more press in the next little bit here over the next, probably two, month or so, and for a long time. So, why don't we just, throw it out there right now?
Yeah. So again, as I mentioned at the start, not your typical startup story. We've been in operation for, a little over a year now. But we are combining forces with SVG Thrive and Parcel. So the Parcel Thrive organization, led by Adam Irrer and John Hartnett, who saw, the value and the benefit right from the beginning. We were part of SVG's cohort and could not be more excited or proud to, to be a part of the Parcel and Thrive family. So that's why I'm out here in California right now. We've got the Global Impact Summit happening that SVG is putting on, and John and Helen put on one heck of a show and event. And then the other piece is we're also filming an episode for Amazon Prime called The Futurist. And so again, not sure why they selected us. This is not a face for TV, but we are we're the only Canadian company selected for The Futurist. I think it's a 9-episode series that'll be on Amazon Prime, where they pick industry leaders and from all around the world. And somehow they got the short end of the stick and got me for the climate piece. But yeah, so we'll be filming that here this afternoon, and that should start airing on Amazon Prime later. I believe just before Christmas.
Nice.
And yeah, showcasing exactly all the change that's happening and how technology is disrupting the industry. And so it's not just climate tech that they focus on. They focus on sports tech, and they focus on AI, the metaverse, and there's a million great things that they're showcasing. There's only 9 episodes, so we're one of the episodes. And yeah, it's super hosted by Ian Kahn, and I think he's got a link on YouTube there that shows the intro to The Futurist. But yeah, really, really excited to be a part of that as well too.
Well, congratulations. I mean, it's great to see. It's great to, you put in a lot of hard work. It's not your typical, as you said, grow and sell within and exit within a year and bring on, partners, like Adam and John. And obviously SVG has done a fantastic job here, even with, John out in Canada and their team here of Lisa, Colton, Spencer. I mean, I've been a mentor there for probably maybe close to a year now. And I mean, I'm a big fan of the organization, so kudos to you and congratulations. And again, I couldn't be more happy. Like, it's just, when you were telling me that, I was like, oh, this is awesome. This is great. This is great. It's a good success story. It's exactly what the prairies need. It shows that it is possible. It's rare, but it is possible. And I mean, you got to be pretty pumped.
Yeah, thank you, buddy. It is. It's could not have done it without a great group of people alongside. But we did it, bootstrapped it, and for I think less than $100,000 we've put into the whole venture. So it can be done. It's not impossible to make something, and it's just really focusing on what the industry needs. And I think that's probably where I would say, my best advice to folks looking to do something similar is just make sure you're doing something that people want or the industry needs. And, I think one of the biggest downfalls is getting just so attached to your product or your idea. And I get it. Everyone has their baby, and no one likes to think their baby's ugly. But at the same time, you have to have something where it's a needed asset to the industry that is going to make it better. And so that would be my biggest advice. And that's what we tried to do was, I thought of what does the industry need? And it happened, from conversations with a multitude of groups at various levels throughout the supply chain. And it finally just clicked one day and said, okay, I don't see anyone doing it this way. So I'm going to do it.
Oh, that is cool. And just for reference to everybody, I've put the link to the future forward, the climate show that will be on Amazon, so you can go check it up, bookmark it for when it comes out, and that's got to be pretty exciting, eh? Now you've gone from a face for radio to a face for TV. How does that feel?
Someone made a bad choice along the way. Someone made a really bad choice.
Oh my God. So what's it like shooting have you done any of the shooting yet, or is it over? Or?
Doing it this afternoon, so
Okay.
yeah, so I'll be fumbling around all afternoon. We're doing it with Smith Farms out here, is a customer of ours, one of the best wineries in North America, and so yeah, super excited. One of the most beautiful properties around, and we've got Ag Partners joining us as well on the tour. So Ag Partners Co-op out of Kansas, which we were just with last week out in Kansas, and yeah, really exciting. Can't wait to see it, and can't wait to be a part of it. So hopefully I do the prairies proud.
Oh, you already have, my friend. So talk a little bit about the process of, not so much about getting to where it is. Like, I would love you to share kind of, once you were approached, once probably, John and Adam walked up and said, "Hey, this is something." Are you able to share a little bit about that? That process, how kind of the conversation went, the back and forth, and you don't need the numbers or anything along those lines, but just more, kind of at a high level.
Yeah, it just really comes down to understanding where your fit is, and I think another area to look at is you have to understand that if you need to have a good fit with your partners, and that would be the biggest piece to focus on is it a complementary piece? Does it add value, and does it make that company, whether you're acquiring or you're being acquired, is it a complementary or value added piece? If you're just being taken off the market because you're competition, then yeah, some people have had that happen, and it goes down the drain. For us, or for myself, I thought right away, after the day I met John Hartnett and Helen, I thought right away, like, these are people I want to be associated with. And from there, John had said, I don't want to do a traditional investment. I want to do something entrepreneurial. And so now we become business partners in the new Parcel Thrive organization along with Adam, and John introduced me to Adam, and right away, Adam is probably one of the smartest people you will ever come across. He understands it. He gets it. He sees things miles down the road that others don't. And so those are the people you want to surround yourself with. And I mean, look at what John's created with SVG, and Adam's history. It's, I'm the black duck in the room, right? Or the odd stepchild that's there. It's like, these guys are just, they're brilliant minds, and they're phenomenal business partners. And I couldn't be more proud to be in business with them, and excited to take all of this to the next level. And if you look at Parcel Thrive, the marketplace that we're all trying to create now is something that links up all the things that producers need along the way through the supply chain. So whether it's being able to market your excess production of grapes, like Smith Family Farms, and in the wine side, and pairing groups like an Ag Partners Co-op with an ethanol buyer who needs to source low carbon corn. Those are ways that we're using this marketplace to be able to tie great partnerships together. And it's a phenomenal partnership, and it's something that we had multiple groups interested in the acquisition of Cultivate, which, again, nice problem to have. But you really have to look at who does make you better, and who adds value to, or who do you add value to. And without a doubt, this was a no-brainer.
No, that's awesome, and that's great, and thanks thanks for sharing that. Right, I mean, we talk about this all the time, the partners, right? I mean, you started off and you founded it, and grew it, and got it to a point where you brought in people that that you want to work with, that you're passionate about, that have the same vision and passion that you do, and to take it to the next level. It's always fun to do it with people that have done it before and people that believe in you.
Yeah, we sort of had a ragtag group. It's I'm really the only full-time employee that we have. Kyle Hoyda, who I've known for a number of years, was with us for a bit, but he's enjoying some time down in Australia. Gary Broland, I mean, is one of the most phenomenal business development people you'll come across. Investors like we had Emmertech and Dan Turner, who back in Winnipeg, who believed in the vision right from the start. And then you've got people like Kylie Brenner and Megs Reynolds and Jeffrey Brown, who have all played a huge role in getting us to where we are, and just fostering relationships. And yeah, it's beyond what you can imagine. And then just the family aspect of it all too, right? Like, none of this happens without the best family in the world behind you, and that's without a doubt. I would be nowhere without the girls on of my family. So it's they're phenomenal, and working probably a job far more important than what I do. So well, I shouldn't say probably, far more important.
No, it takes a team, right? And many people help along the way, and that just goes to show that even if it is you're solo and you're off to your start by yourself, and reaching out and talking to people and collaborating with people and bringing them on, whether it's short term, long term, everybody contributes along the way to the success of the business and the entrepreneur.
Yeah, it is. Honestly, nothing happens in a silo, that's for sure. And but yeah, having the right people there who believe in it, and being able to communicate the vision and why you're doing what you're doing. I think Jed Miller from Ag Partners Co-op, he always says it's about telling the story, and making being passionate about that story. And that's exactly what we've tried to do, is be passionate about what we're doing, and communicate that to people. And I think that resonates quite well with folks, and they can buy in. And I mean, you look at who we're working with now, and Canada's one of Canada's biggest companies, one of the world's biggest fertilizer groups, some of the largest grain handlers in the world, and now and some of the biggest crop protection companies around it. It's huge. And so we're I couldn't be more thankful and happy to have been a part of this.
No, absolutely.
I just get to be the face, which I'm not sure who decided that one. Better decision makers there.
Oh my goodness. Well, and I think there's so many other, potential collaborations, like with Kirk Moir and Crush Dynamics and what they're doing out here, and things along those lines. Like, I mean, there's so many great ag type businesses that are working, again, when I consider ag, I consider, the grapes and the winery and that type of business too. So I'm excited to watch where you're going to go. And speaking about where you're going to go, so what do you think the next, maybe short-term, long-term goals are for you guys?
Well, it's continuing to build the marketplace that's already kind of in progress. And so I think that's one of the complementary pieces that we brought to Parcel Thrive was, they have done a phenomenal job in the fruit and veg and wine industry out here in California and throughout the West Coast. We had phenomenal relationships with the row crop groups, the big line companies, fertilizer manufacturers, crop chem groups. And so bringing those together is going to really change the dynamic of how everything goes. And having worked with, we're working with green trucking, we're working with green ammonia companies, really helping folks put together the best package that is, considered low carbon. And that's really where we want to get to with some of our partners is, putting together the best from seed to FERT to chem. What is the best low carbon package there is, and what's going to give you the best return? And so what we're finding, with Ag Partners and in Indigo, where we've just announced a 15% premium on all corn that gets CI scored. That's kind of the beginning, and the evolution is, what do you add on that is complementary to that, and how do you ensure that the fungicide you spray is sourced in a low carbon manner, and so really just kind of creating a lot of those baselines and helping growers choose the best products, and helping our partners along the way put together the best packages that will result in that. And again, it's about getting the farmer the best premium that he or she may get in the marketplace, and that's to us the most important piece. And then providing the assurance down the supply chain of the auditability, the traceability, and we're actually able to take a loaf of bread, put a QR code on it, and trace that back to the field it was grown in. That's how deep we can get into this. So it's exciting where this is going to evolve to, but being able to trace that back to the actual field or plot of land, and then show its GHG emissions journey along the way to get to that grocery store shelf will, I think, allow the consumer, you and I, to say, yeah, you know what, I do want to buy a loaf of bread for 25 cents more because it is carbon friendly.
Yeah, I know where it's coming from. I know who made it. I know the region. I may even know the farmer, for that matter.
Yeah.
That's sake, right? And I love that, right? And I love everything about it. I love that traceability. Again, I've seen it in the animal side work with trust picks, and now what you guys are doing in the food production. I think it's awesome. And I again, this is my opinion, and I truly believe people want that, right? They want to know, right? I mean, there's talk about, we can go on forever about different industries, about child labor and things along those lines that, yeah, we put it up on our website and that's kind of it. And we'll market it that we don't do this or do that or support this, right? But when you can actually put a train and show it and believe in it, I think that authenticity is going to be key moving forward in our food production.
Yeah. And it allows people the choice. Like, the biggest thing is providing consumers a choice, and a choice that they can rely on, that, hey, I'm actually this, similar to the organic industries, I'm paying 99 cents a pound for bananas versus 77 cents because they're organic, and that's what I want to do. We want to provide that assurance and that trust matrix in terms of, this is where it came from, where it originated. And that's, to us, that's paramount in all we're doing.
No, absolutely. And that's awesome. And I'm excited. I mean, you've gone from, renting movies at Boomers to being a movie star on Amazon Prime. The only best thing is if maybe you were, on Netflix, because then you can say they destroyed the VHS industry.
This guy is not going to drive more subscribers to Amazon. I promise you that.
I'm excited about that.
I'll probably have to buy a lot of memberships for folks, including my family,
to watch it. That's freaking funny. I love it. Hey, I mean, I'm always sad when our conversations come to an end, because we could talk forever. But I always have one last question, and I'd like to kind of, usually I just ask it away, but I kind of want, because you're unique, and you've gone from in almost a year, from starting a company to growing it to kind of not exiting it, but bringing on partners and being able to take that next step. So you've given a lot of good advice on this already. So if you had one piece of advice for a startup that wants to focus on an exit or bringing on different partners, what would that be?
Yeah, the biggest thing, as I mentioned, is have something and focus on what the industry needs or what the consumer needs, and be adaptable. Again, don't take people saying that, well, it's not really what we want, as a criticism of what you've thought of. It's just it's time to pivot. And that's, I think, the area where probably folks will fail on the most, is they want to latch on to, like, well, no, this is my baby, this is what's driving it. And really, if you're gonna have a successful startup, it's got to be adopted by the broader industry. And for us, we focus on something that was needed, that was fresh and coming about. But don't look at it as a slight if people say, well, it's not exactly what we want. Think of it as constructive feedback to say, hey, we like what you're talking about, but it needs to be in this kind of manner. And that's a lot of how things evolved from the carbon credit and offset was it wasn't that we don't want carbon credits or offsets. It's still needed. It will still happen, but we'd actually like a way to incentivize the value chain. And it was, the Walmarts of the world saying, well, hey, how do we take 25 cents and make that, push that downstream so that it gets to the grower and everybody benefits along the way for better practices and smarter practices? And how do we just measure and verify? And so, yeah, the biggest piece of advice is, look for what is needed and wanted. And if you're working on something that hasn't had traction yet, it doesn't mean that it's dead in the water. It just means pivot a little bit and but keep doing it. I mean, it's the passion. If you have passion to try and to start, don't lose yourself by being too regimented that you can't let go of the fact that it may not be what's needed right now. And so, yeah, that's the biggest advice is be open to change. And I mean, as entrepreneurs, you remember me back in I actually had hair. It's a grind. It's a grind, man. It
is a grind. There's no doubt. And I agree. And thanks for sharing that and being so open about it, Boyd, because it is true. Right. And I always believe when I tell people, and an idea is almost a starting point. You have to, it's by the time you go from point A to point Z, it's going to take 16 different, iterations of how you've gone and what you've added and what you've taken away and what didn't work. And what, again, when you're listening to your clients, which is the number one thing, you have to get out there. You have to talk to them. You can't learn entrepreneurship. You can't learn sales from a book. You got to get out there and do it and find out what the want and the need is of the industry and then adapt from there.
Yeah. Yeah. The only other piece I'll just say quickly, surround yourself with people you want to make better.
Wow.
Because you surround yourself with people you want to make better, they will make you better. And that's the biggest piece is like have a great team and have a team you love because you're going to make each other better. You're going to go through tough, like startup is, like I said, it's a grind.
Oh, yeah.
You're going to go through ups and downs and lefts and rights. But if you have the right people around you, man, things feel good when they go good. And when things go bad, you got people who say, hey, it's okay. Here's, we're going to get through it. And you can't do it without that.
No, stronger together. And I mean, that's, again, we take, the prairie way is that's kind of the way. It doesn't matter if it's from Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Alberta, it's the same. There's lots of people that will help. There's lots of people that will have a coffee with you. There's mental wellness sources that will be the next. I mean, the one in December is going to be virtual. So any entrepreneur can go and watch and be part of it throughout, wherever for that matter. But yeah, it is good. And asking for help is not a sign of weakness. So it's a good thing. Right. So
that's the thing. And I, coming back from our football days way back when, it's okay to say, I need help. It's okay to say, I don't have this. I don't know what to do. Be like that. That doesn't make you any less of a person, of a entrepreneur, of anything. Like in fact, I think it makes you a better one to be able to say, hey, here's something I need help with. And yeah, we all have to embrace the mental wellness piece, especially because it's a grind. It can, you're literally taking, your family's well-being into your own hands.
Yeah.
And rolling the dice with it. But yeah, be okay asking for anything you need. And, and for anyone listening, I've been lucky enough to get through some things. I'm by no means any expert, but happily will converse with anyone who has questions or wants help or needs anything like it. You got to pay it forward as an entrepreneur. That's the only way to truly succeed.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. And again, Boyd, I appreciate you coming on here. It's been long overdue, but maybe it was maybe the wait was the perfect time for it. I mean, you never know. I never know why.
Well, why. I lost the weight. I told you I lost the weight.
Oh goodness, but it's so good that to have you on here, sharing your story, being vulnerable, talking about it, putting yourself out there, saying, hey, if somebody wants to talk, come, reach out to me. I love that. And, keep on being awesome. And I can't wait to watch your journey, watch your next step to, not only to your company, but into your movie career. Like there's so many great things happening right now.
Yeah. Going straight from Prime to Marvel Studios.
Exactly. You never know, right?
Getting thrown off the lot when I do that. Well, hey,
Awesome.
I gotta tell you, buddy, I love you. I love you for what you're doing. It's awesome. It's so great to connect again, and we have many more connections coming up. But keep doing what you're doing, because honestly, this is phenomenal, and you're such a brilliant resource and you know mentor and guide for everybody. So this is something that is so well needed and appreciated, and just thank you for being you, brother.
Oh, I appreciate that. That means a lot coming from you, coming from it's part of me. It's part of what I want, sharing my story, sharing my journey. And our entire team at Peer Guidance feels the same way. And it's fun. I love being around great people like yourself and all the other entrepreneurs in our ecosystem. It puts a big smile on my face every day. So absolutely. Again, for anybody who wants more information, check on CultivateCI website in the comments section for more information of our next Thriving Mind mental wellness course on November 16th, talking about imposter syndrome. Again, the link is there. Again, Boyd, enjoy your time down in LA, and happy shooting today on the site. And I'm sure we'll chat soon, my friend.
Thank you.
All right. I hope everybody has a great Wednesday. We'll chat soon.